Hello, how you doing? I'm gonna talk about this from Somali to jail. They come from Somalia, took a plane over here, they go straight to jail. So what was the point? I mean, that's just as bad as the black man in America. They go from school in the eighth grade to jail, and they are jailbirds for the rest of their lives. So what was the point? I mean, you talk about the school to prison pipeline. That's even worse than the school to prison pipeline. They go from Somalia to prison. They come to America. They go from Somalia, come to America, and then they go to prison. Then what's the point in going to America? There's no point. Okay? Now look, you got to understand the Somalians. They grew up in mud huts. They all have a mud hut. All of a sudden, they come to America. They got an apartment. They got $1 million home. Because this stupid government gives them all this crazy money. I guarantee that every refugee that has come over here got $100,000 from the government, pocket change. Because when the Afghans come over here, look, a month later they got a Mercedes. How they get a Mercedes? They got 20 cents in the pocket in Afghanistan, 20 cents in their pocket when they come to America, and the stupid government gives them at least $100,000 per person. And I would think they're going to get more if they bring children over here. So a month later, Afghanistans have a Mercedes. 2 months later, they have a store. So what is Trump expecting Somalis to do? They're giving them all this crazy money, $100,000 you can spend any way you want to. Here's your food stamp money, $15,000 a month. They should not be poor. Every refugee get that kind of money. Everyone. That's why they got something. That's why they got the government. Look, in addition to that, the government pays for their apartment. The government pays for their medical, dental, etc. Why the government gives them all that crazy money, I don't know. Okay. Okay, and then COVID came. The government gave them all that crazy money for COVID. All that PPP loan. Look, it's crazy money. They've never seen that kind of money before. So, of course, they're going to steal it. They're going to find ways to steal it. They're going to make up charities. They're going to make up a million children to feed. They're going to make up the story. Now, the government doesn't give American charities that kind of money. I mean, why didn't the government give the food banks that kind of money? They can buy more food. The government certainly does not give the American Indian nothing. Okay, but yet it gives these Afghanistan Somalis, warlords, these Somalis in Afghanistan people, Vietnamese people, $100,000. Have a nice day, at least. And you got to understand who was on that plane. It is well-fed warlords from Somalia. Let's just pick up Somalia for a minute. It is well-fed warlords, gangsters, mass killers, rapists. That is who was on that plane. And either their wives or their girlfriends. That is who is on that plane. It's not the tired, the poor, the huddled masses, the handicapped. Those people, the tired, the poor, the handicapped, they are still in Somalia. They don't get nothing. Because the only people who have the energy to get on that plane are the warlords, are the soldiers, are the mass killers, are the rapists. Because you got to have energy to rape. You got to be well-fed to rape. That's who's on that war plane. Well-fed gangsters, well-fed soldiers, well-fed warlords. And so the government ships all these people over here. Why is it a surprise that there are gangsters in Minneapolis? Why is it that they're surprised that there are gangsters in from Mexico, Central America, Afghanistan? That's who came over here. Why is it a surprise that there are gangsters and warlords and soldiers from Afghanistan who's shooting up everybody? Why is that a surprise? The United States shipped them over here. Now look, they got male and female criminals coming from Afghanistan, male and female criminals coming from Somalia and Sudan, other African nations, male and female criminals definitely coming from Central America. That's all who's coming across the border from Central America. And Venezuela and Colombia is male and female criminals. That's all. It's not the tired, the poor, the huddled masses. It's definitely not the handicapped. What surprises me is the arrogancy among these immigrants. Somalians said, we are here to stay. We got to look at them every day. We got to put up with them. Okay. We are U.S. citizens. Now, look, Trump is our president. Now, look, if you cannot trace your lineage back to before the Civil War, you're not a U.S. citizen. That's as far as I'm concerned. If you cannot trace your lineage back to before the Civil War, you are not a U.S. citizen. They are citizens of Somalia who immigrated to America. They are not citizens. I wish they would stop saying that. Once Somalia got on social media and said, Minneapolis belongs to us, America belongs to us. No, it doesn't. America does not belong to them. They're not going to take over America. But that's what they believe. That even the Sudanese, who definitely come from mud huts, say, we are here to stay. You're going to cater to us. You're going to you're going to have in stock the food we want to eat, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they are so arrogant. And the Mexicans, I got my rights as a citizen. They're not citizens. If you're not a citizen, you don't have any rights, period. And when the Somalis get deported, they writhe and holler and scream and blow snot. Look, be a man and take your punishment. If you're going to get deported, get deported. The same thing for the Central Americans. They holler and scream and blow snot. If you're going to, look, take your punishment. Get deported. Stop all this rioting and hollering and screaming. But look, what was important coming to America? They come from Somalia to an American jail. What was even the point of having to get the plane ticket over here? Bye.